for prayers. They marched on north, the elf blood froze. The peppermint fields now lined with woes.
Jack-o'-lantern lit the spark.
A pumpkin grin, a scheme so dark.
It was the lies of endless snow.
If Christmas ends, you'll never go.
We're laughing aloud now, magic in the air. Wands roll around us, cast away our care. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find. Spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so wizards, oh, 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 oh. Life is a spell we know. We're casting joy and glow, oh, oh. That's a wizard show. Mischief in the classroom, potions gone astray. Flying through the quad, now brighter every day. Laugh till we cry hard, sneaking out at night. Cloaks in the moonlight, everything feels right. That's so wizards, oh.
Hello, hello, hello. This is the OGGM broadcasting live from Site B, located in the sarcasm central that is Fresno, Nevada, a town that is close to our hearts, even though it does not exist. And we've got this. And I'm just going to leave this here for a second. Just leave it here for a second and let you digest it. So, wait a second there. Internet, you're telling me there's a rumor circulating around that Wizards of the Coast is working on a brand new version of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's going to be a return to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons adjacent. And if everything goes well, the playtesting will start in 2026, and we're looking for a release in 2027, around June of 2027, which is the 50th anniversary of the AD&D Monster Manual. Whoa, wait a second. Wait a second. That sounds really familiar. D&D 6X, June 2027. Weird. Where have we heard somebody say that before? At least once a month for the past 5 years. Oh, wait. It was me. Because we've known that Hasbro has had this planned for at least 5 years. D&D 6X 2027 has been on the calendar for at least, as far as I know, from when I first heard about it, 5 years. So June 2027, about the 50th anniversary of the AD&D Monster Manual. Where do these rumors come from? Because it's not the first time this week we've heard this rumor. It's actually the second time. So where does this rumor come from? It comes from Tanker. That's right, our old pal Tanker. Which I can't get this to work. Why aren't you not working? Share screen. Hold on. Now, if it comes from Tanker, he's got his insiders. He's still connected to the industry. He's a relatively reliable source, and he usually beats me to stories. So he still has a few contacts out there. So Tanker is saying, hey, there's a rumor going around that in 2027, we're going to get this brand new version of Dungeons and Dragons, but it's going to be a retro clone of AD&D with all the best of 5e to keep the quote unquote Fortnite crowd happy. We gotta take that rumor with a grain of salt. We gotta go, well, maybe. At least it's something they'd consider if they thought it would make some more money, because the D&D nostalgia baiting is going to be very high right now because Stranger Things is coming to an end. And we know that despite what everybody's saying, D&D 5.5 is not doing as well as they thought. And Hasbro Wizards of the Coast is facing a lot of issues in regards to D&D 5.5 or D&D 2024. D&D 2024, which I say is 6X, but nobody else agrees with me, so fine, we'll call it 5.5, is not doing as well as they thought. So these rumors have been circulating for at least a year now that Wizards, powers that be, especially under the new guy, now that Crawford and Perkins are gone and have sold their souls to Daggerheart, for better or worse, possibly for worse, considering the horrible job they're doing with Daggerheart. But that's a separate topic. So could this be true? Could this be going back to the original AD&D? We know Luke Gygax has been seen, at least pretending to play D&D, at the Wizards of the Coast secret base with some of the Wizards of the Coast Hasbro important people. Now, that could have been a staged event. It could have been just whatever. We don't know, but we do have these pictures. Take of them what you will. So the question is not, can they? Of course they can. They can go back and reprint whatever they want. The question is not, do they have the ability to revisit AD&D and mess around with it? Of course they have the ability to revisit AD&D. They've got the AI, and they have said repeatedly. Ooh, a comment already. God of Ka says he joked that 6 would be 4E, just to piss people off. 4, I don't know. I don't see them going back to 4. I'm one of the few people who actually liked 4. There was a ton of stuff in 4 I liked. Considering how mathematically dyslexic I am, for me to say I liked 4 is a weird thing to say, but yeah, 4 worked for me, even though whatever. 4 is a separate topic, God, but we appreciate you. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe to our good friend God of Ka's YouTube yet, please give him a shout out. Please give him a subscribe. He has his own game coming out very soon, which is going to be awesome. So yeah, thanks. So we know they have the AI. We know CEO Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast CEO have both said we're going to use the AI to make new D&D product. We've got 50 years of product just sitting on the shelves. We're going to digitize it. We're going to have the AI go through it, chop it all up, regurgitate it, and then so we can revisit it in this brand new product. So we know that they've said that. We know that they said, hey, we're going to make the old rules common source, much like we did with the 5e and the 5.5. So we're going to take the 3E rules and the 3E.5 rules and the 2E rules and the 2E 2. And everything we made before 5th edition, with maybe the exception of 4th, because 4th is all its whole separate weird beast, which I'm not educated enough to talk about, but it is problematic. But the OGL and the Common Core and all the open source rules out there, like the ORC, would let us use the older rules. They've been claiming they're going to release the older rules for a while now. They've also said that they're going to release the rules for Braille and other languages, and that hasn't happened yet. But hey. So the question isn't, can they do this? The question is not, would they do this? If they thought they could make money off of it and brand it, of course they would. Whether it be a limited release to celebrate, much like the release they did of the older books in the 50th anniversary history book that was awful and wrong. Sure, they could. Would they push AD&D plus 5e or AD adjacent if they thought they could make it money, if they thought they could brand it, if they thought they could milk that Stranger Things retro 80s nostalgia a little bit longer? Sure, they would. Are there people out there who would want to play a 5e adjacent take on 5th AD&D? Where it would use some of the best stuff from 5e, would use some of the best stuff from AD&D, but it also, according to Tanker, embrace some of the experimental stuff that they did with AD&D and AD&D 0.5 and 3 with like the Adventurers book and Oriental Adventures and changing up, adding professions and kits and stuff like that to give a more well-rounded. So it would look a lot like some of the AD&D retro clones that have already adopted that rules. So we have the best of AD&D, the best of 5e, i.e. Shadowdark, i.e. several other retro clones. So the question is not, can they? Sure, of course they can. The question is not, will they? If they thought they could profit off of it, of course they will. The question is not that they have been telling you for the last 5 years that they are going to do this, and I have been telling you at least once a month for the past 5 years, D&D 6X 2027. The question is, would we want them to? Would we trust Wizards of the Coast enough to forgive them for the past 10 years and go back? What is it about AD&D other than the name that would make us go, oh, the AD&D version coming from Wizards of the Coast is the version I want to play today, or the version all the new players are going to want to play? What is it other than the name? Because the name AD&D, the name Dungeons and Dragons, doesn't mean anything. Wizards of the Coast has told us it doesn't mean anything. It's a brand. And they can milk that brand for centuries. They don't need to make a role-playing game. We're doing the work for them. All they need to do is put Dungeons and Dragons name on anything, and even if it fails, they still make profit because it costs them nothing to use the name. 5.5 when it came out, and all the lies and bullshits about it being the fastest selling, even though it's not making them as much money as anybody expected, and it's not doing very well, still made them $1 billion, more or less, despite posting losses, despite sales being abysmal. They're still making money. And every time they put that Dungeons and Dragons name on anything, they make money. So the question is, other than the name Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, 5e adjacent, but not Shadowrun, would we want them to? Would you forgive them for the past 10 years? And would you trust them to take Advanced Dungeons and Dragons into the year 2027, into the 22nd century, and treat it right, knowing full well what they just did with 5, knowing full well what they've done with all the adventures, knowing full well Wizards of the Coast political justice signaling, woke politics. And remember guys, I'm a liberal. I should be on Wizards of the Coast side, right? I'm a stinky communist Democrat from California, but I disagree with everything Wizards of the Coast has done, except for one thing. And that was like 2 years ago. So would we trust them, Tanker? Would we trust them, Eric? If I owned Wizards of the Coast, what could I do to make you trust me again? What could I do with Dungeons and Dragons 2027 6X June to make you forgive me for the past 10 years? And would you want to? Would you want to? Because, guys, I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of retro clones out there. We have got several years worth of retro clones going all the way back to the OGL's original days, and Wizards of the Coast said, here, take our license and make whatever you want. People have been making retro clones. Let's just go to drive-through. Share screen. And this is just me without even really looking. But yeah, 80% of these are retro clones. Oh, there's one. There's another one. There's another one. There, well, no. There, look, you know, there's one. There. Here's some more. From Osric to Swords and Wizardry to Shadowrun to the stuff I make out. Please buy my merch. There are hundreds of D20 Gygaxian level-based fantasy products out there that embrace the best of AD&D, and there have been for a long time. And there's a lot of people out there playing these 6 regurgitations, rebirths, regenerations of AD&D, of D&D, of 3.5. There's even a few 4th edition retro clones. There's Shadowdark. There's all these games out there. Dungeon Crawl Classic, Castles and Crusades, which is, you know, D&D 3.5.1. The next logical evolution of what Gygax had planned for D&D is Castles and Crusades. If you want to play AD&D, Castles and Crusades. The Player's Handbook for Castles and Crusades PDF is free. And Tunnels and Trollord Games are one of the best people on the market right now. Them and Kelsey, you know, and they're constantly making AD&D stuff. So you have your AD&D out there. And since they've already said that, according to the rumors, remember, none of this is true. This is all rumors. Let's just say none of it is true. We're all just hypothesizing. We're all theory crafting. We're all just sort of responding to this rumor from Tinker. And of course, the fact that we've known for the past 5 years that Wizards of the Coast has had D&D 6X 2027 on the calendar. I wonder who said that. Oh, yeah, me. I said that. Fuck you, OGGM. You don't know what you're talking about. Would we want them? Would you trust them? Because that's what this boils down to. If even 1% of this rumor is true, it's Wizards of the Coast saying, hey, forgive us. We're going to go back to AD&D, but we're going to make it 5e popular so we can get the Fortnite kids, because fuck you, old school. And we're going to market it. And you're going to want to buy it because we know you guys want us to do AD&D again. It's all you say. Bring back AD&D. Fuck Wizards of the Coast. Fuck 5e. Bring back AD&D. So we're going to do that. Maybe it'll be a limited release anniversary thing. Maybe it's going to be fuck 5.5. It failed. So let's just make 6X like we've been talking about for the past 5+ years. And that's going to be what they're going to run with for the next 5, 10, whatever many years. Knowing full well that they don't need to make D&D product. They don't need to make a game. They have said D&D doesn't make them money. The brand is what makes them money. Stranger Things made them money, but the game on its own didn't make them the money. It was Stranger Things that made them the money. And they know that. So would we trust them? I wouldn't. I don't need 2027 AD&D. I've got it. I've got 1, 2, 3 physical copies of 3 different systems that are AD&D, and I've got half a dozen, including White Box by our good friend, the Basic Expert, and Shadowrun by our good friend, Kelsey Dion. I've got half a dozen other D20 level-based Gygaxian fantasies that do AD&D as good or better than. Would we want them to? That's the question, Eric. Would we trust them? Do we need them? Knowing full well what they've said about us, would you trust them with an AD&D in 2027? Would you trust them not to make it the exact same gobbledygook rainbow pony mess that 5.5 is? Would you trust them to just say Strixhaven never happened, Wild never happened, Infinite Staircase never happened, Connie Chang never happened, Mackenzie Dioms never happened, the way we treated Chris Perkins never happened? Here it is, D&D the way you've been saying you've wanting it. Drop all your 500 OGL OSR titles and come back home to AD&D, because we're going to, here it is, AD&D June 2027 with 5e adjacent mechanics, so we don't lose all those pink-haired ponies. Or would you like me saying, no, I don't need you. It's been a dysfunctional, horrible, abusive relationship. You have been nothing but awful to me. You have lied repeatedly about me, about the OSR, about the old school, about people who have been playing for longer than 10 years. And I'm a Democrat, and I'm saying that they make me sick. I don't need you. I have Castles and Crusades. I have Shadowdark. I have Dungeon Crawl Classic. I have White Box. I have Rudiger's. I have hundreds of games out there that do AD&D better without the political nonsense. So here's what I think they should do. If I own D&D, in response to Diversity and Dragons post from a couple days ago, if they said, with OGGM, you are the most trusted voice in the tabletop role-playing game community, we're going to give you complete control of 2027 D&D, what do you think we should do? Well, first I'd laugh at them. I'm the most trusted voice? What about Eric here? What about Stephen Licker? What about Kelsey Dion? But okay, here's what I do. Put it on hiatus for 10 years. Do the exact same thing Toei is doing with Super Sentai. Put it on hiatus. You don't need it to make money. You've said so yourself. The title is so ingrained with all the negative publicity that the only way you can move forward is to put it to rest for a long time. at least 10 years. Long enough that we can forget the weirdness and get back to just appreciating what it could be. Long enough that all that weird Mackenzie Dioms mentality, Todd Kendrick mentality, Jeremy Crawford mentality that has polluted Wizards of the Coast is shuffled out, and you bring back people in who either, one, know how to run a business correctly, and two, actually understand the audience and what the rumors are. Would the old rules change new players? Maybe. I don't, but again, it's not relying about, the only thing that would bring people in is the name. The fact that it's an AD&D retro clone wouldn't matter. They're banking on that post Stranger Things nostalgia to bring the new players to a AD&D if it happens. Remember, this is a rumor. We don't know if this is true. Other than the fact, of course, once again, that this is where I sarcastically remind you, I've been saying this for the past 5 years. Would we trust them? No, I wouldn't trust them, but they're relying that there are, the Fortnite crowd would trust them, that they could bank on the nostalgia to get the Fortnite crowd, which according to the rumors is what they're saying. So they don't care about the old school. They don't care about the actual people that play AD&D. They want us to die. They've said so. We can't leave the hobby fast enough. Those are Wizards of the Coast words. Poor Kyle. We want Mackenzie Dioms, but now we're just going to say, fuck Mackenzie Dioms, fuck all the damage Crawford has done over the past 10 years. Here's AD&D again. Forgive us? No, put it on the shelves. Put it on the shelves for 10 years. Do the same thing you did when 4E failed. Focus on board games. Focus on Magic the Gathering. Focus on the comic books. Focus on the branding. Let people forget the disaster that was 5.5, just like you did with 4E. You just didn't wait long enough. Take a year off. Take 5 years off. Take 10 years off and focus on other things. I mean, let's Toei with Super Sentai. Super Sentai's dead. We're just starting a brand new thing called Project Red, and we're going back to the Metal Heroes with Gavin Infinity. So we're not doing any Super Sentai. But Gavin Infinity, Project Red, is going to follow the Super Sentai formula, and we're still going to do the crossovers between Kamen Rider and Super Sentai and Project Red for at least twice a year movies. So even though we're not making Super Sentai anymore, we are making Super Sentai. It's just going to be different. Do the same thing. We're not making Dungeons and Dragons anymore. Dungeons and Dragons is on the shelves for 10 years. We're making something else. We're making the Eberron role-playing game. We're making the Mystara role-playing game. We're making a brand new game that has absolutely nothing to do with the old school, who we don't respect. And then wait and see. Will people flock to Project Red like Toei is counting on? Will people flock to this hypothetical new thing like Wizards of the Coast would be counting on? Or would it fail? Would it crash and burn? And they can go, okay, yeah, people don't want this. Let's go back to what people do want, but find a way that we can make it more profitable. Because the reason why Toei is giving up on Super Sentai is to avoid the Power Rangers Hasbro crossover bullshit, because Hasbro fucked them over so much. Hasbro ruined Power Rangers. They gladly embraced it. Toei's like, okay, fine. We're going to put the title away. We're going to do a brand new title that, is both retro but new, but secretly it's Super Sentai with a different name. So, as we're almost in 30 minutes of me blabbing, again, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you for the other individuals who've pointed this out to me. I would ask you this again, guys. The question is not, can Wizards of the Coast release a Dungeons and Dragons AD&D, whatchamacallit, in 2027 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the AD&D Monster Manual, the 50th anniversary of AD&D. Can they? Of course they can. Would they? If they thought they could monopolize it and make money off of it, of course they would. They've been telling you for the past 5 years they're going to do something in June of 2027. And now if the rumors are true, they're going to do something in June of 2027 that's somehow related to the history of D&D. It might be a limited release anniversary, like, they did with the horrible history of D&D, or they might just say, fuck it, we're going back. 5e never happened. This is how you're supposed to play D&D. Hopefully the last few old folks who have been shitting on us for the past 10 years will forgive us. The question is not can they. The question is not will they. The question is not should they. The question is, would you buy it? Would you forgive them? Would the hundreds of people that they have insulted over the past 10 years, both new and old, go, hey, we forgive you. We're going to give you one more chance in this abusive relationship. I mean, just because for the past 10 years you've been pooping on us, this time will be different, because that's what it's been, guys. It's been an abusive relationship, and it's been Wizards of the Coast knowing that there's at least one person out there who will forgive them, and there's people out there who will play 5e thanks to Critical Role and all the other stuff. And even if 5e, has floundered as it has, and not done sales-wise as well as Wizards thought, it still made them $1 billion. They still were in the red, in the pink, whatever, in Q4, and we'll see the new numbers pretty soon. So, yeah. But would we want them to? Would we go in our shelves and go, I know I have these OSR, OGL, D20 Gygaxian level-based fantasies that I've been playing. I know I have. Hey, we do not badmouth Peppa. She is part of the Holy Trinity. Peppa Pig, Hello Kitty. Yeah. And John Cena. John Cena! Bam, ba-dam, bam, bam. Bam, ba-dam, bam. I don't think anybody wants this to happen. I don't think it'll give Wizards of the Coast the shot in the arm they expect it to. We have D&D. We have hundreds of versions of D&D. You name it, whatever permutation of D&D is your favorite, Holmes Basic, white box, green box, blue box, 3, 3.5, 3.7, expanded, whatever, D&D on the inside of a 3x5 card, D&D the sandwich. If you have a favorite version, somebody has retro-cloned it, probably more than once. There's nothing stopping you from playing it, and that version is going to be cheaper than the $50, $60, $100 they might hypothetically charge you. And that version is probably better. So we don't need you, Wizards of the Coast. You've told us what you think of us. Why do you think in 2027 we'd forgive you and go back? Best scenario, it's a limited edition reprint to embrace the 50th anniversary of AD&D. So one and done. Just like the reprint they did of the original books last year. It'll cost $80 to $100. It'll be a limited edition collectors. Hey, look, here's AD&D that you guys all love, but it's 5e adjacent because we put it through the sensitivity readers and we had the AI remove anything that was offensive because we got to keep it Mackenzie Dion save. Or will they? Do you actually think they'd go back to AD&D and drop the past 10 years because Jagerheart? No. They're going to do whatever they need to do to make money in 2027. And they've been saying that they're going to do this for the past 5 years. So we knew something was coming out in 2027. Whatever that thing is going to be, it'll make money for them. The brand will make them money. Hasbro can milk the D&D brand for centuries if they do it right. Look at Monopoly. The question is, again, would you want them to? Would you want them to? Would you forgive them? I wouldn't. You told me what you thought of me, wizards. Why do I need you? I've got AD&D back home. But that is not what they're counting on. They're counting on you to forgive them. They're counting on you to want it because... Have a great holidays, everybody. I appreciate all 12 of you for sticking with me for the past half an hour because that's so wizard!
Oh, life is a spell we know. We're casting joy and glow. Oh, that's a wizard show. Lands in the hallways, adventures we find, spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find, spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find, spells and enchantments, trouble on our minds. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find, spells and enchantments, trouble on our minds. Mischief in the classroom, potions gone astray, flying through the quad, now brighter every day.